Hello everyone, welcome back to a new episode of Is it Imba or Do I Suck? Today we're going to be having a look at a replay I got sent to me by Neko-chan. And it says, Dear Harstem, I'm a 4.8k MMR ZERG player and struggle a lot with closing the game out once I get Broodlords. Every game that I manage to get Broodlords, I still die. It seems like ZVP is nearly unwinnable for ZERG. Due to the lacking mobility of Broodlords, you can't get across the map without losing at least 2 bases to sword ninjas. How am I supposed to win the game in this way? Please, I need your help. Broodlords need a movement speed buff, otherwise this matchup is just straight unplayable without all-in. Sword ninjas make it impossible to play it. And that was sent to me by Mr. Neko-chan. Alright, let's have a look at this game then, if it is so unbeatable indeed. Protoss is Wing 0. He's opening up with a standard 1 gate expand. This is around a 5k MMR replay. Like he said, he was 4.8. I think the Protoss was 5k, so relatively high level. I think it means they're maybe Masters 1 or on the border of from Masters 2 to Masters 1. Let's speed this up, this beginning part a bit. This all seems pretty standard, honestly. You know, the Protoss most likely will just be going either into some Stargate or some Twilight action, and we see the ZERG just opening up with, well, what looks to be a standard 2 into 3 base after the initial 2 queens. Yeah. Here goes our drone, takes the 3rd base. So far looks pretty standard, looks pretty powerful. A little move you can do as a ZERG is that, well, in the case of a Stalker first, not so much. But otherwise you could try to run by 2 links into the main base. But against Stalker first, it can be a little tricky. Hello? Pay attention. There we go. So yeah, it's gonna be... you can. The thing you can still do is you can always leave like a ling here and a ling here. And then if he starts moving out like this with a Stalker, you can perhaps sneak by into the main base, try to get vision. I also don't mind the Overlord speed, honestly. I think it's a safe call. You will always get the information that you need. And yeah, we see Neko-chan is going to probably be able to scout the Stargate. Might lose an Overlord for it, but that's just the way of the world. Only if Wing... actually he should be able to just go to this general area and be safe. No, doesn't do that. Well, we'll lose the Overlord instead. Does scout Oracle first, has no real links on the map, that's good, as there's no real adept count on the map either, so Oracle's going to be the only form of pressure here. The way to beat that is Spores and good Queen movement. Now, Spores are here, let's have a look at the Queen movement. In general, this is an important area to defend, and this is a general area that you want to be defending with your Queens, because those are the drone transfers, which isn't defended by Spores. So far, Neko-chan is doing all of that completely fine. Protoss player is getting a fast robotics facility and fast gases, and then we'll be going into a 3rd base from what it looks like. So pretty standard build order, slightly faster robo than maybe we're used to, but both players seem to know their stuff. You know, they have build orders that make sense, they're doing moves that make sense. Yeah, so far honestly a pretty normal game. Roach Warren timing is perfect. 4:30 is a good Roach Warren timing if it is 2 oracles. If it is a single oracle, we'll get it slightly earlier, maybe around 4:20. And we see Wing 0 trying to do some damage. Now this is where we can see the skill of the ZERG. Oh, pulls away the drones. I was gonna say, you need to pull away the drones from where the oracle comes in, and Neko-chan actually managed to do that. So far we're having a pretty clean game by both players. You know, no major errors. Perhaps the map vision that we have from Wing 0 is a little small. I wouldn't mind seeing 1 ling over here, 1 ling over here, and then a patrolling ling in this area, maybe a patrolling ling in this area. That way you get a lot of vision. You create a lot of vision for yourself on the map, which is important. Yeah, basically that. Vision. Good stuff. Now this is a late drone pool. Another thing I don't like that Neko-chan isn't doing is that there's no Overlord in this area. This is a very common spot for oracles to come from, so one of your Overlords should be there. You basically want everything covered. This is a good Overlord. This is a good Overlord. You also want an Overlord here, so you can see this happening. The rest should be covered by creep. A creep, don't forget, gives vision. Now this is a rookie mistake. Never want to lose your queen just like that, obviously, out in the open. Single queen chasing 3 oracles. Even this is dumb, because now you're exposing your own mineral line. So, very bad queen movement here in the past 15 seconds, and it could have cost him a bit more. If Wing Zero would have committed there, maybe microed away his weak oracle, would have been able to kill like 5-6 workers extra. Now I think he got maybe 6 in total, and he got a queen. So still pretty decent here for Wing Zero by some messed up queen micro by Neko-chan, who's going into what looks like to be Ravager Ling Bane with a I'm not sure what this is. It's a macro hatch in the main base, I guess. Not a big fan of that, but I'll accept it. Whenever you take a 4th base this early, you always are going to need a spore, because otherwise you're just going to get abused by oracles. Luckily for Neko-chan, this isn't working yet, or this isn't happening yet. But the oracles still are active, so perhaps later it might happen. What is the scouting info? Scouting info is absolutely 0. So at this point you could say, wow, look at this worker count, that's so nice. It's 74. It's pretty high. He's getting infestation pit, but he did all of that without having any information. He didn't know if the gases were there. You're allowed to go up to like 75, 76 drones and get an infestation pit if you see that there are gases there. Otherwise you probably want to be building a couple more units. Like 75 drones is fine, but the infestation pit is truly pushing it. Now, the one thing that I do see that is lacking is creep spread. We really haven't been pushing creep spread at all. And the thing that creep spread gives us, of course, is vision as well. It gives us vision, improved army movement. Oh, still no spore here at this base. And now the 3 oracles are just going to kill, I guess, all 3 queens. And we'll be able to take out a bunch of drones as well. Drones should probably have been pulled away already as well. If Wing Zero was paying attention here, all of these would have fallen. Might still actually go for a couple. Yeah, this is very, very poor defending here by Neko-chan, who loses 3 queens or 2 queens, and also loses another 5-6 drones, another 5 drones. So I'm kind of liking Wing Zero's position here. He's going into Storm, he's going into Blink, which I think is a mistake. Should have obviously be charged. He does have charge already. I'm not sure why he's getting Blink. It's not as great. Yeah, I could say there's not a lot that, like, not a lot of big things that Neko-chan is doing wrong. It's more that he isn't doing a lot of things. Like, he's not spreading creep. There's no pressure whatsoever on the Protoss base. Like, the last time he was on the map with any kind of links was, well, never really. Like, he hasn't been trying to clear probe lines with Baneling Runbys. There hasn't been a single Baneling drop. So the question really is, what has he been doing? Because he hasn't been defending his base properly, he hasn't been spreading creep, and he hasn't been harassing. So I really wonder what he's been spending his time with. His injects seem to be okay, but I mean, that's only every 20 seconds. He also has, I mean, his MMR is pretty high, right? 340 MMR, but maybe just moving his army back and forth and really in a really intense way. Because it just seems like he hasn't been doing anything at all. Like, this is the first thing that he's actually done, where he splits up part of his army. He does get a bunch of zealots for his efforts, so that's nice. He does have a big Baneling Ravager Roach force as well, which is kind of sitting here, not doing anything. Managed to find this part of his opponent's army. I just love to see like a Baneling Runby being started, or just a Baneling drop, just anything to put some pressure on the opponent. The way you want to be playing with Ravager Ling Bane is you kind of want to be doing constant Baneling Runbys and constant Baneling attacks on different bases while you're attacking into Brute Lords as the safety measure. So after you kill 30 workers and your opponent attacks you, you're going to be surviving on Brute Lords. That's really the big plan here, but it seems like Neko-chan, he kind of wants to fight with his army. He builds 12 more roaches, which also isn't really the way. The main way to deal damage with a Baneling army is to get, or with a Baneling Roach Ravager army, or Baneling Ravager Ling army, is to get Banelings. Like, the rest of your army is kind of garbage. Banelings are the driving force behind your army, basically. Now, like I said, we haven't really been seeing any harassment whatsoever. Once +2 finishes, this is gonna count twofold basically, or tenfold. Like Baneling Runbys become so much more powerful because a single Baneling will be able to one-shot a probe and one-shot probe clumps. So yeah, Baneling Runbys like these are extremely important, and basically the reason why you'd play a style with this many Banelings is to kill workers a lot. A good trick is to come from two sides, so some Banelings from the front, some Banelings from the other side, because otherwise they'll just be able to escape, like, well, not quite an escape. So this was actually a good run by. Still, the execution could have been better, but the result was perfect, so I'm not going to complain about that too much. Now, the way you want to be playing Broodlord against this style once again is you want to be continuously doing Ravager Ling Bane pokes at outside bases to contain your opponent on a low base count, and then the Broodlords, they really just are there as a safety mechanism, so you can't die. Like, it's basically so the other guy can be, alright, I'm going to move across the map, move you with Storm and Archons. That's what the Broodlords are for, and you're just constantly doing run-bys with your Banelings, with part of your Roach army, and then as a third group, you're going to fly around with a group of Corruptors, like 12, 13 Corruptors, and 2-3 Vipers. And whenever you're attacking a base, imagine the Zerg attacks this base with his Roach, Ling, Bane force, or mainly Banes, and the Protoss moves into that direction, and the Corruptor Viper comes from the right side over here. Poop! You abduct with the Vipers, and then you try to get air units like that. And then if he attacks you, you obviously have the Broodlords. A mistake a lot of people make is that they attack with the Broodlords, and then they lose them, because Broodlords are slow, they're not that great of creep. They need a lot of support to be able to do something. Now we see small Zergling run-bys, but not really the Bane run-bys that we need. It really feels like Neko-chan isn't doing anything, honestly. Like he's in the game, but like he's there physically, you know, but mentally he's not really there. He's just, stuff is happening and he's watching it happen. It's a bit like his life in a way, where, you know, it just seems to be going by without any real improvement. That's kind of what's happening here as well. It's like, yeah, this is nice, this is good, you know, this is the stuff I want to see, but I want to see this consistently. I want to see this army doing stuff as well. I guess if you're being attacked, it's okay to stay home, but yeah, these are the run-bys you should have been seeing basically consistently for the past 5-6 minutes. Now the Toss is too far on creep, doesn't have an Oracle with him, so this honestly shouldn't be too successful for Wing 0 here. You, as a Protoss player, quick tip, always get an Oracle so you can tag the Broodlords. You can see the position of the Corruptor. It helps a lot against this kind of stuff, trust me on that, boys. Yeah, this was a good fight for Neko-chan, honestly, who is also up in workers now. And now you might think, oh, he just won a big fight. You know what time it is? It's time to move across the map with Broodlords. But let me tell you something, boys. It's never time to move across the map with Broodlords. The way you move across the map with Broodlords is by pushing creep forward and getting 10 spores in this area. Then you move forward with Broodlords. But in order to be forward with Broodlords on the map, you're gonna need more static defense at your different bases. So Zealot Runbys can't do too much. You're gonna need some kind of momentum on your side so that your opponent can't really be attacking your Broodlords as they're moving with his Tempest. Like, you want to be basically very safe, and then you can move in. And then with a Spore or Infestor support, you should be able to win fights. But never just randomly fly across the map with your Broodlords. This is kind of how you want to be using them, just staying at home, doing run-bys. It seems like Neko-chan is doing a way better job than before. The only problem is that he doesn't really have any static defense, so he's also quite vulnerable to run-bys himself. He isn't the quickest to respond. It took him a couple of seconds here, and he lost, well, 57 workers already, and I think he lost like 35 in the last minute and a half, or the last half a minute. These 4 zealots clear the whole mineral line. So 5 zealots over here that clear the whole mineral line. So this is a little bit dangerous, and this is why I always say just get some spines, or just be very active with your units on the map, trying to catch your opponent's units. Creep helps a lot, of course. Creep and Overlord is basically free map hack. It gives you complete vision of the map. And always try to get the spines up before it happens. Preventing is better than curing in this case, where you can't really start building spines while you're being run by. That's not how it works. Yeah, he's just... Right now, Neko-chan is just being completely pulled apart, honestly. Doesn't pull his workers away. Can't defend his 5th base. Loses his natural as well. Queen's going down. I mean, this Greater Spire, it shouldn't go down, but with the speed that Neko-chan is operating at, it might accidentally. Yeah, there we go. Greater Spire will also fall. The thing is that in order to win this kind of game, you really gotta play consistently well as both sides. So you can't be taking bad fights on the other side of the map. What you want to be doing is you kind of want to be controlling the middle of the map with a main army, and then the rest of the game is just run-bys while you're pushing your advantage forward. So Protoss is trying to deny creep, which is what this Protoss is doing, while doing run-bys. ZERG is trying to establish creep while doing run-bys. Now the problem for ZERG here is that he isn't doing run-bys and he isn't establishing creep. So that's a 0 out of 2 of the things he should be doing. He needs more workers as well at this point. I mean, 47 workers is simply not enough. Now, his army composition is also awful. Somehow he managed to get back into, well, basically 32 roaches, 26 roaches, 6 ravagers, which is absolutely the worst unit to have into the late game, the roach. The roach is a 2 supply unit that, if you have 25 of them, might barely be able to kill a single immortal. So it's not the unit you really want to have in your late game army. They also stack up naturally. They're terrible against base defense. They're kind of slow. They're kind of stupid. No one really likes them. And in combination, they don't really do too much with Brute Lords either. I mean, they don't synergize well with Brute Lords. Unlike the Infestor, for example, or the Corruptor synergizes relatively well. Now, this is the kind of desperate attack that you would expect from a man who is down 30 workers and forgot that run-bys exist in this game. And it's kind of what we're seeing, you know? It's like Roach, Bane, Corruptor, Brute Lord. Gets across the map, gets shot down by Tempest. This is a very common scenario where the Protoss loses a base and kills basically every single air unit and every single Brute Lord. And if you don't lose the workers as the Protoss, that's honestly completely fine, because you can just rebuild the base. You lose your income for a minute, so that's like 800 minerals and maybe 300 gas. But you're killing so much more with your Tempest that it's completely irrelevant. And I mean, the problem really started with the Zealots running by and there being no adequate response. And on top of that, the complete lack of creep threat also isn't helping. The army composition is terrible. And the decision making with what to do with the main army has honestly also been a bit lackluster. So we're just, you know, making this massive list of mistakes, and we have this list of things that went well, and I'm not even quite sure what to write on. The first 5 minutes were relatively good, you know. Didn't lose too many workers to the oracles. Only lost a single queen. You know, it could be considered okay. Now, at this point, I could go on and on about what Neko-chan is doing wrong, but the thing here is that nothing... He's pretty dead, right? He is a Roach Corruptor army at 19 minutes in game against 11 Tempest. It's like... I'm not quite sure what to say. I've never seen this before. This is a composition you play against Terran mech. If you're all-inning the Terran mech who open battlecruiser. But this is not a composition you play against Protoss. Like roaches are really, really bad the longer the game goes on. Corruptors are okay, but you need something with them, you know? The problem with this army is that roaches can only attack ground, and they're really bad at it, and corruptors can only attack air. And they're okay at attacking air, but you don't actually care too much about the Tempest, you know? Their to ground damage isn't that great. So if you don't have Brute Lords, you just kind of ignore them. Corruptors almost get a shot in. Very exciting fight here. As Neko-chan realizes that roaches actually can shoot up. He's like, dang it, stupid Tempest. Yeah, this is one of the sadder fights, and at this point Neko-chan is not only wasting Wing Zero's time, he's also wasting his own time, but more importantly he's wasting my time and all of yours time as well. It's like, Mate, the game is over. It's time to leave. Do yourself a favor and just quit. It's over. 5 Ravagers. The other guy has 9 Tempests. It's time to go, my friend. GG. Perfect. Alright. Well, my tone of voice perhaps reveals a little bit already what's going to be happening here, but Nico-chan. You were talking about sword ninjas and being all funny, but to be real with you, this was very sad. You play a race that is known for having fantastic vision. Creep, overlords, circling spread all across the map. Very easy to get a lot of vision. High speed army. You had none of it. No vision. You had no creep. No good overlord spread. You had no zerglings on the map. You started doing run-bys at the 9-minute mark. You didn't consistently do them. Didn't ever use Corruptor Viper. You attacked with Brood Lords. In the late game you built 32 Roaches. That's the one that hurt the most. Roaches don't shoot up. They only shoot the ground. Against air armies you want something different. No spores. No spines. No static. You were floating 3k at one point. Still no spores. Still no spines. Didn't respond at all to run-bys. You can pull away your drones if you're being run-by the way. That's a good move. You want to save them. It's okay if you lose an extractor and a hatchery. But 30 drones, that's a lot of drones. It's difficult to replace. Yeah, to me it's obvious. To the viewers it's obvious. The only one that just doesn't believe it yet is you. But let me tell you, you really do suck, my friend. You really do suck. You suck. Alright. That was great. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to smack the like button and leave a comment down below what you thought about Nico-chan's play as well. Was it a thumbs up or was it a thumbs down? Yeah, it's interesting questions. And I'll see everyone next time for a new episode of Is It Imba? No, wait. A new episode of something else, which I can't think of. YouTube Play StarCraft. There we go. Tomorrow. That's great. Bye-bye.